Something off with Erika Kirk. What she is wearing seems a bit inappropriate to mourn your husband, who was literally taken out for the entire world to see. This woman is not grieving anything. She skipped straight to acceptance. This is most definitely PR, and they're using your grief for marketing.
It started with a whisper, the kind that moves faster than truth itself. When Joe Rogan leaned back into his chair during a podcast and said, "There's something off about the Kirk situation," the internet froze. Millions replayed the moment. His tone wasn't casual, it was calculated, sharp, deliberate, and heavy with implication. For weeks, the story surrounding Charlie Kirk's death had been dismissed as tragedy. But in the quiet corners of the web, questions were multiplying. And Rogan, the man who rarely dips into political grief, had just poured gasoline on the fire.
Still being covered up. She is still walking around with the same security from September 10th, saying she's so excited.
Side you were on.
He wasn't reading
One
headlines.
thing was undeniable.
He was reading silence, the kind that hides something. As Rogan spoke, his co-host leaned in. "You mean like she's hiding something?" Rogan didn't blink. He said slowly, "I mean, there's a reason Erika Kirk hasn't spoken to his parents in weeks." The room went still. That one sentence sent shockwaves through social media. Within hours, clips spread across TikTok, X, and YouTube, clocking millions of views. The idea that Erika, Charlie's widow, had distanced herself from his family added a sinister new layer. Why would a grieving wife avoid the people who loved his husband most? Some said it was trauma, others said it was guilt, but Rogan's expression told a different story, one that hinted at knowledge he shouldn't have had. Insiders close to Turning Point USA began to whisper about a rift, a private fallout between Erika and the Kirks over access to Charlie's personal files, his encrypted devices, and, most importantly, the notes he kept before his death. Notes that allegedly contained names, meetings, and donations that never made the books. And suddenly, the question wasn't how Charlie died. It was what he died knowing. Rogan didn't accuse. He didn't speculate wildly. But he did what he always does best. He asked the questions others wouldn't. And this time, the silence that followed felt more like confirmation than denial.
My husband's mission was powerful before. You had.
The next day, a clip resurfaced from Candace Owens, who'd hinted at unspoken tension between Erika and Charlie months before his death. Her words, once dismissed as gossip, now felt prophetic. "There are things people will do for influence that they'll never admit to in daylight," she'd said, her eyes cold, her tone almost apologetic. Now the public began connecting dots that may never have been meant to align. On Rogan's next episode, he addressed the growing storm. "Look," he said, "I don't know what really happened, but when families go silent and power players get quiet, that's not grief, that's coordination." Viewers felt the weight of that statement. Rogan wasn't chasing clicks. He was signaling that something, or someone, was being protected. Meanwhile, Erika's social media went dark. No statements, no interviews, just a series of black posts with subtle captions, "Truth takes time, let peace speak," and one that read, "You'll understand someday." Each post only deepened the mystery. Comment sections exploded with theories. Was she being silenced? Was she negotiating something behind the scenes? Or was she, as some claimed, simply done being a pawn in someone else's war? But those closest to Charlie's family painted a colder picture. His parents, sources claimed, were heartbroken, not only by their son's death, but by the wall that had formed between them and the woman he'd loved. Rogan's words had broken open what the media refused to touch. A story not of grief, but of control. A story where power and truth were quietly at war, and one woman's silence held the key to both. And somewhere between sorrow and strategy, Erika Kirk had become the most mysterious widow in America.
To say that I feel like at the beginning of this investigation, I was very clear. I said there will be no fakeness and there will be no gayness in this investigation. And apparently there were some people who did not take me seriously or literally, because there are a lot of little lies being told, right? Charlie gets assassinated, and the very people who were threatening him reputationally and financially are now trying to memorialize him, now confirmed that there was indeed a woman who was with the shooter in the footage that was captured by the houses nearby.
The next 48 hours changed everything. What began as whispers online evolved into a full-blown media storm, and Joe Rogan, knowingly or not, had become the spark that lit it. Mainstream outlets tried to ignore it at first, but they couldn't outrun the wave. Too many people were asking the same question: what was Erika Kirk hiding? Then came the leak. An anonymous email hit multiple journalists' inboxes, allegedly containing fragments of a private message between Erika and an unnamed political donor. The message read, "They can't see everything. Some of it was Charlie's choice." No one could confirm its authenticity, but that didn't matter. The implication was enough to send social media into chaos. Screenshots spread like wildfire, dissected frame by frame as if they contained a national secret. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan stayed quiet. On his next podcast, he avoided the topic entirely. But silence from a man like Rogan meant something, especially when his previous clip was still dominating headlines. The narrative had escaped him. The story had taken on a life of its own. Erika, once seen as a grieving widow, was now the epicenter of speculation. Was she protecting her husband's legacy or protecting herself from what he left behind? Then came another twist surfaced. A guest who'd appeared on Rogan's show months earlier claimed off-camera that Charlie Kirk had confided fears about internal power plays within Turning Point USA. He'd mentioned donors, political figures, and even media fixers who kept certain stories from ever reaching the light. For the first time, people started asking whether Charlie's death had truly been random, or if it was the cost of getting too close to the truth.
In conservative circles, silence grew heavy. Candace Owens tweeted, "Some things are better left unsaid, but silence has its own price." The post vanished minutes later. And yet, it was too late. The silence itself became the evidence. Rogan, feeling the tension tighten around him, finally broke his own. During an unplanned segment, he admitted, "There's more to this than what we've been told. I've heard things off record, things I can't repeat here." He paused, looking straight into the camera. "But I'll just say this, when truth gets dangerous, it stops being about justice. It becomes about survival." The clip was shared across every major platform within minutes. Millions watched as Rogan's usual confidence gave way to something rare: unease. Not fear, awareness. That's when the strangest thing happened. Erika Kirk reappeared. Out of nowhere, she attended a private gala, smiling, poised, immaculate. But when reporters approached her, she said nothing. Only one phrase escaped her lips before security moved her along. "Tell Joe, not everything hidden is meant to be found." The internet went into meltdown. Was it a warning? A confession? A coded plea? That one line became a symbol, a mirror reflecting every dark suspicion the audience had been harboring. Rogan's fans called it proof. Her supporters called it manipulation. The truth? No one knew anymore. But by then, it didn't matter. The story had grown beyond any single person's control. Rogan, meanwhile, said nothing more. The episode vanished from Spotify without explanation. Clips remained, but the original broadcast, gone. And just like that, silence reclaimed the story it once served to hide. Days later, Erika posted one last image, a candle burning alone in a marble room, captioned simply, "For Charlie." It was her first acknowledgement of him since the controversy began. Some called it closure, others saw it as defiance, but everyone agreed on one thing: this was no ordinary widow and no ordinary loss. Because when truth is buried under grief, it doesn't disappear, it waits. And as the flames of curiosity dies down, one man's question still lingers in the smoke. What did Erika Kirk know, and why was Joe Rogan the one brave enough to ask?